Hi guys, today we are here with JJ. He's the in-game leader, I would say, in-game leader of
Yep.
NB, who have just joined the North American League 2020-25. So yeah, obviously, like people are going to have lots of questions about such a massive esports team joining not just the North American League but Rainbow Six Siege scene.
Mhm.
As an OG that I consider myself, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago hearing those names like Envy, 100 Thieves, having an interest in joining Rainbow Six Siege, and it's nice to see finally like one of them joining
Mhm.
the scene. Who would have thought though that it would be you, the players representing the brand? So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, before we start with the interview, I wanted to introduce a little bit JJ. He's a guy who has been playing in North America's Tier 3, Tier 2, and Tier 4. Well, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier and 4. For a few years now, I would say like 4 years maybe, or even longer than that. You have played for lots of like tier 2 squads and tier 3
Mhm.
squads. I was checking the list and it's quite long to be honest.
Yep.
But some of the names that stand out obviously are like Fluffy Amers recently, Elevate and Wildcards Academies as well.
Mhm.
What have you got to say to those players who may be in a similar situation to the one that you have been for the last years?
Yeah, no, I was hard stuck in like the T3 into then eventually it's hard stuck in T2 and just like couldn't get over the hump or anything, but the biggest thing was I just kind of kept pushing because at the end of the day this was my dream. So if for anyone like that, if this is your dream, then you don't give up on it. Um, as long as you make sure everything else in your life is taken care of and you can like realistically pursue this stuff, man. At the end of the day, like you're gonna go. The people who go farther are the ones that aren't going to give up, whether you're more talented or not. So that would be my advice in that aspect.
Good. Now let's talk about the Challenger Series 2025. This is the first year in a long while, I would say since 2021, 22, or even longer than that. I don't remember the exact year now. That we have like promotions to top flights. So this year, before the start of Challenger Series, you played in tier 2 and tier 3 competitions. You were delivering some good performances, but I don't think like many fans or like other viewers, players would see you as one of the favorites. Um, were you, like before the start of the Challenger Series, were you fully convinced about your possibilities of making it into the North American League, or do you think it was a long shot?
No, no, we definitely thought we could make it based on like how we were practicing versus every team. We thought going into the tournament there was only like two other teams we really had to worry about that we had to compete with, and that was the Revelations team that we ended up meeting in the finals, and then we also were the Nightmare roster, which was the old SSGA Academy team. That team was also like we thought we were gonna have to compete very much against, which we had to play them in the group stage, and it was a really close series. But yeah, we knew all along that we had the roster to actually qualify and all the pieces needed. It was just kind of more of like, will we actually make it happen, rather than can we make it happen? Because we knew we could.
Um, in the group stage, you've finished with a 3-1 record. I think, yeah, you lost against Revelations, which were, like probably the favorites or one of the favorites to take that spot. So with the 3-1, you were in a comfortable position in the bracket, but you started your upper bracket run with 1-2 defeat against Space Hops, I think it's called.
Space shoes, yeah, space
Spaceships.
shoes, man.
Spaceships, yeah. Sorry, like these kind of names are a bit.
No, that's a weird
I
one. I
think I
get it
think I'm
for you.
I'm getting quite old. Anyways, yeah, it was like I think that it was a shocking result for some because you
Yeah.
had defeat them uh, by a pretty big margin in the group stage. I think it was like a 7-1 and a 7-5
Yep.
win. And all of a sudden they took you down to the lower bracket. So yeah, could you describe us what happened there, or could you like navigate us through that
Yeah.
loss?
So a couple things for that series. The first one is like that roster is that Spaceships team is the way they play is very like unstructured and just loose and chaotic and like just frag heavy. So like any day of the week, like they could beat you in the sense of like if they're like all like shooting and like they're feeling confident and then it's like working for them. Um, so like we weren't like taking the match lightly at all. It just kind of came down to like we won map one like convincingly again 7-3 or 7-4 something like that. We were feeling good. And then map two was Lair, their map pick, and we went up 5-1 on defense and we lost 6 straight attacks in a row to lose the map 7-5. Like when I tell you that series was as simple as the whole team was completely mental chalked going into map three. Like we like might as well have just given up and lost the series on map two with the way we played on map three. Like the like you could just kind of tell in our own like comms inside our team that no matter what we were gonna do on map three, it did not matter and we were gonna lose. We were just literally there's nothing we could have done that series. Um, so that was like a learning experience from us to like not let that happen again. But two, we also like learned something about ourselves that series. Like that map two being Lair, we were like at that point that was our third loss on Lair in Challenger Series. We had played it like the two other times and lost it. So like the one thing we kind of said like we had 100% win rate and everything that like didn't have Lair in it. So after that match, we just didn't play Lair again and we didn't have any issues.
After such a defeat against what you just said, like a very chaotic playstyle, I guess that like you just said it's just a one day thing, one time thing, or did that defeat like actually like affect you mentally?
It carried through the next day because how the play days worked for the Challenger Series was that first winners bracket game was on Saturday, and then the losers bracket one game was on Sunday. So we got like a day to recover, and like after the game, we all were like really angry and like upset and emotional about that game. Um, but we all still like knew that like we had what it took to make it to like Pro League still and like go through every other team. It was just like we were like more annoyed at ourselves that we gave up like a chance to like go through the upper bracket and have like an extra life, if that makes sense. But even like going into the next day, like we lost map one, like a little bit of the negative energy that came over from the other day, was still there. And I remember like towards like the end of that map one when we were down like probably like 6-4 or something 6-3, and I was like, oh my god, are we actually gonna blow this? Are we just done? Like it was like looked that great just to like wow, one bad map and everything spirals. But that's where like our mental toughness actually did kind of come through. Like one thing we learned about ourselves is like when it mattered most and when our backs were against the wall, every time we came through. So that's like a trait we found out through ourselves through Challenger Series.
That's good to know because that was not the only time that you were in a tough situation.
No, it
In
was not.
fact, after defeating Cure, you and then you beat MAT's Academy by it was I think it was a 8-7 win first, and then the second
Yep.
map it was a bit more one-sided, but still like quite tough. Then you beat the Unks, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And then you reached the last day of action. You were in the lower bracket, which meant that you had to play in order to qualify for NA league. You had to win back-to-back best of threes in the same day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Which is that is tough. That is tough.
Mhm.
And yeah. Now, considering what you had in front of you for that final day, what were you thinking about your chances about like what was your mental in that day?
Yeah. Yeah, so like um that was like the Sunday, the last day of the two matches. You mentioned the games before on the Saturday, like the day before we played two best of threes as well. Like we beat M80X, which like everyone thought like they were like they're a great team, but we weren't really worried about them and it kind of showed. And then the Unks were like kind of very similar, just like had to play the game to keep moving. But that last day was like those are like okay guys, like these are the if you want to be in Pro League, these are the two teams throughout the whole tournament. The other two teams besides us that were playing good and it was like it was kind of great because like the three best teams the whole tournament were on there in the final day. So going into that first game versus Forsaken, it was a lot of ex-pro players that quit the game for like a couple of years and came back because they heard the chance to qualify for Pro League. and we honestly didn't think that series was going to be as hard as it was. We kind of came out flat to start the day. We lost map 1, but like even like no matter what, the main thing we could like attribute that to, like we could kind of just tell like we know when we're on and when we're off, and like that first map of the day we were kind of slow and sluggish and like how we like play as a team, just kind of nothing was clicking yet. And then we got to like our next map, like Chalet, that was our map pick. That was like our best map all of Challenger series. So like we bounced back there, and then we were on the club, which again is like one of our next best maps versus them. And we were very confident. I think we were up like 4-3, and then we lost 3 defenses in a row to go down 6-4. And it was just like, wow, we are again back against the wall. And we ran off 4 straight rounds. We got 2 crazy rounds in regulation just to even bring it back. Like both rounds looked losable from us, and like we kind of clutched up a little bit and like pulled some plays out of our back ends to like bring the round back. And then we got to overtime, and the overtime rounds were just like once we made it to overtime, you could kind of see in the play styles that like we were just like flowing with confidence, and they were kind of defeated the way they were playing, and just kind of those last 2 overtime rounds we were able to close it out and book to finals. And then the next series versus Revelations was like a rematch series. We actually no one really wanted to scrim us the week leading up to the last week of Challenger series. No one wanted to, like, we couldn't really get any good scrims because like a lot of pro teams weren't scrimming, and most of the teams that were left in Challenger series didn't want to play us. But Revelations was the only team that like actually like agreed to play us, because I don't think they thought we would win all the losers bracket games and get to the finals. So we used that scrim as like a complete opportunity to like understand like how they play and like what we need to do when we get to game day to deal with them. And we used that scrim as a testing ground, and like everything we learned from that scrim we applied in the finals, and it worked like perfectly. So we were able to like make those adjustments on the fly. We dropped a lot of strategies on the fly in that game just to like deal with how they play, and it all worked out in the end for us, and we made it through.
So you're saying that in that scream you just didn't really show much against them,
It,
or
it wasn't that it wasn't that we in for like to go into more detail on it, the way they play that Revelations team, and it's pretty much still the same now, even with their new roster in tier 2. They don't play very structured at all, and like their number one goal when you play against them is they just kind of try and avoid doing whatever's harder. So like if you're like fully roaming, they will just ignore it and just go to site and just do something like that's very not structured, but they're just gonna like try and hit the site off that, and they're never gonna like do like normal extended out default attacks. They're just gonna play very like loose and like kind of horizontally and etc. So we literally dropped like almost all of our strats in the scrim and just played like 4 trap ops and just ran like default ranked setups, and just like literally played like we didn't even hold vert because we knew if we gave them vert they wouldn't even like make vert with the vert. So we were just playing like literally like glorified like hard 5 stack ranked play versus them, and it just completely shut them down. And like we figured that out in the scrim. We're like, okay, this is what we have to do, and we did that again on game day, and like it worked out perfectly.
yeah, still, despite the like having that information, that finals game had 2 back-to-back overtimes.
Yep.
That game was crazy, honestly. I wanted to know a little bit like how did you go through those situations, because it's not the same
Yep.
playing back-to-back overtimes in
Yep.
in a game where it's a group stage game, or where you can like have something you can afford to lose,
Yeah.
but not in a game where your future is pretty much on the line. So yeah, just explain us like what happened in those difficult situations.
Yeah, like that series was played out extremely weirdly. So just to start with like the ban phase, we got like a perfect ban phase in the sense of like the first 4 bans, like the maps we took out and the maps they took out, like it looked great for us. And the map they picked being Bank, like we were confident in, that was one of the maps we played them in that scrim I mentioned. So like we knew exactly what they were gonna do on that map. And then like for our map pick, we could have either picked Chalet, which like this is where like the little issue comes in, because like this series we could have picked Chalet, which is like statistically our best map, and we opted to go to Cafe, which is a map that like we think we're good at, but like we didn't have that many reps on, and Revelations also beat us on it in the regular season in the group stage. So like personally, I wanted Chalet, but two of my other teammates said that they were, and I quote, feeling cafe today. So if my two fraggers say they're feeling cafe and they want to play it, I was like, all right, you know what? I'll trust you guys. Um, so that was like the only thing I wish I could have. I would have liked to have played Chalet that series, but like we took each other's map picks, so it was like weird. Like we took Bank, they took Cafe, which like that's why I say like if we just picked Chalet, I don't think they could have beat us on Chalet. We could have wrapped it up in two. But even still, going into Club third map, I mentioned before they don't really play Clubhouse correctly, in my opinion. At the time, they were just like rushing or just like ignoring us. Like that, I watched the VOD back. There was a round they didn't even reinforce like the hot tub wall when we were like when they were gym. I saw on the spectator. I was like, bro. Um, so I don't know that map 3-2. Like we were up good. We went up 6-3, and just a lot of like unfortunate like small tiny mistakes that kind of happen when the pressure's on. Kind of came out from us, and it ended up going to overtime. And like we got attack for overtime on that map, so it was a little like okay, we gotta really be focused up. This is where like a lot of pressure came onto me as like the IGL. I had to make sure that like whatever like I did, like these next two attacks were like the best attacks I've ever called. And the first attack they went basement. We had a perfect execute on the site. It was like almost like a flawless round. I think I died, but everyone else traded me out on the execute. And then we lost our basement defense, so it was 7-7. And on that 7-7 round, we were able to. Our coach called our timeout. He kept the timeout all the way for 7-7 to make pro league. He calls it and he goes, "All right, guys, let's just calm down. Give me one good round." We got into the drone phase. We saw they went basement again, which was a surprise because they just lost it. And we saw that they had like three really aggressive roam ups, and we knew just because like knowing them and the team they are that they were gonna live and die on the roam to win the game. So we dropped like all like you could see like if you went back and watched like all of our club VOD, you would see we've never like we always have like heavy util ops on club attacks, especially for basement. Like we have never ran a Dokkaebi and a Jackal for a basement club ever. And I was like, guys, just drop anything and just pick up roam clearing ops that are just gonna help us get kills because they are gonna live and die on this roam, and that's where the round's gonna come down to. So we did that. We cleared it. We got two picks on the roam. We transitioned to the site execute, and it got way closer than it should have been. I personally think we did everything right on the roam clear. They just kind of won some crucial gunfights that made it way harder than it had to be. But at the end of the day, we used the numbers from the roam clear call to like win the round on site. So
Good. Well, then obviously, like after that result, you qualify for the North America League, which obviously is really good news for your team. But now looking at the future, obviously you have been mentioning that most of the teams, or to not say all of them, the teams you have played are not as structured. They
yeah,
don't play a siege that probably you would like to play. Obviously, that's not going to be the case in North America's top flight. We are talking about the league where you're going to be playing against teams like Dark Zero, Space Station, Shopify Rebellion, and many, many, many more. Wildcard, who just reached Reload top 4. Um, it obviously is going to be a tougher challenge. So, what do you expect from your team now that you are going to make your top flight debut?
yeah. So I mean, I'll give you like a two-parter to that. So first is just the in general, we like in the past when there was relegations and teams came into pro league, you would kind of see them struggle often and just like really take like would not be able to figure it out and just kind of be a bottom team. I mean, obviously, I think every team's gonna be confident, but I think we're in a different spot to where like uh even with we don't have much T1 experience on the team, but like we've all been in tier 2 for like 3 years now at least, and just like we've been practicing against these pro teams every day, every night, scrimming them for like 2 and 3 years now. So there's no like mental barrier where like we're not confident that we can't compete against them. We've played them in scrims before. We've won countless maps off all of them in scrims before. It's not like we can't do it. It's just going to be a matter of like coming into like the pro league on doing it on the game day environment, which obviously we're confident we can. So there's no like mental barrier where I think other teams in the past may have like a mental barrier when they go into pro league. And secondly, it's just like yeah, we definitely got to like in practice. We've been spending time on just getting used to like playing against pro teams again because during the Challenger series, like one, a lot of pro teams just weren't scrimming at that time because it was kind of the off season for them. So we weren't getting many like pro team scrims, and we also were scrimming more Challenger series teams anyways because like as you mentioned, like the pro teams don't play at the challenger teams. The challenger teams are way less structured, so it definitely was better to practice against the challenger teams to be ready to play against them. Um, so like we had to kind of relearn in a sense, like remember the things we have to do differently when we're playing against like other pro teams, and just keep focusing on the things we know we need to improve on in those areas to be successful. So we're definitely confident. We think we can definitely have a good stage. So I mean that's the goal anyway.
I think the word, because this is the first time that we talk, and
Hmm.
obviously I didn't know you before today, but I see you very confident, or at least the way you are talking. Maybe you are not, like you are scared of the first play day. I don't know,
No,
but
I'm confident.
you look
I'm
very
confident.
confident. You look very confident. You look like you are willing to have a lot of fun in this first
Yeah.
stage. So I wanted to know a little bit more about you. You said that you are the IGL, so
Mhm.
obviously in order to be a good IGL, you have to show like confidence, obviously, like
Yeah,
not
exactly.
that everything is under control. Could you define yourself as an IGL, not just inside the server but also outside the server?
Yeah, so as the in a not trying to come off as like being egotistical or a sense like that. At the end of the day, the team, like our roster, runs through me, and it kind of goes as far as I go, if that makes sense. If I'm and my coach has told me this and everything, he said the team is like only going to go as far as you are playing on the day. So it's very important for me to like always keep like a level head and like be fun. Because I'm like the most goof. I might be the IGL, but I'm also the most goofy. Like and like I create the most like fun vibes on the team. I'm a very unserious serious player is how I say it. Um so like I'll be IGLing and like calling and like taking it like very seriously, but then I'll also be making the most stupid jokes the whole time while we're going even in round, and I'll just be saying stupid stuff just to keep my team's vibes up because another thing we learned about ourselves through Challenger Series is when we have fun, we're basically unbeatable. When we're like stressing out and trying to play too perfect and really like trying to and like worrying about like the bigger picture and stuff, we tend up like stressing out and just playing poorly and like not like playing good. So it's very important for me to make sure the team's always having fun and we're cracking jokes and we're having fun with each other and like even if we throw a round, we just like laugh about the round, and like we all know it went wrong. There's no reason to sit there and talk about the intricacies of how we threw a 4v1. Like everyone knows that was bad. There's no reason to yell at each other for it. Um, so yeah, it's just like that's like a big portion of me being like the IGL for the team and I like kind of the captain, the most vocal figure on the team. Is just making sure we're always having fun and that the fun leads to confidence for the rest of the guys.
Good. Now that you have talked about yourself, I want you to talk about your teammates.
Yeah,
People will know players like, for example, Snake, who played for
yeah,
TSM. But I want you to talk about especially the three rookies.
yeah.
You have already talked about yourself, but also like the other two. So yes, wanted to talk about them. And how do you think this adaptation progress into the North American League is gonna go for them?
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, Snake was like in Pro League, so a lot of people are gonna know him, especially because he played on TSM. But he also played a stage with LG, and that was Twist's also first Pro League stage and Twist's only Pro League stage. They both played on LG first stage together. Back I think into like 2023, the fall of 2023. So both have been out of Pro League since then. So it's great to have them back in. They deserve it 100%. But for myself, Rival, and Amelia, like this is all of our debuts in Pro League. And like I'll start with like Leo first. Emilio, we found him back in August of this past year. So almost like a year ago, like 10 months now, is when we decided to pick up Emilio. We were at like kind of a low as a team, or like at least the team I was on at the time. And Emilio was like a very promising tier three, like low, very low tier two player, more or less in T3. And I could tell he had very good mechanical skill, and but he was on a team that was just like really bad and really stupid. Like the team they were on were just like it was a classic T3 like team that was just stupid, man. So I was like, I thought he had potential, so I basically like got him on the tryout, and I was like, yeah, this guy's the player. But at the time, like he was like an Ash main, and we had to transform him to like a secondary support player. So we've spent the whole year transforming Emilio into like this support player in a sense, support slash flex player in a sense. And like honestly, from like our inside, we all think and consider him as our best player on the team. Every time we needed him, he was like the rock that like kept us in games like inside the server. So I mean, I just couldn't be more happy for him because he's put in a lot of work to get here. And honestly, for like it's a long time, but it's also a short time for like this was I was his first tier 2 team. And he had to improve a lot on that aspect, and he got there. And like I said, we all think he's our best player. And then the other rookie on our team's Rival. Um, Rival's been like my like team duo now for like almost 2 years. I think I've been teaming with Rival for almost like 18 months or something like that now. We started playing together, and like I could tell right away that he complimented me in a sense of like a secondary like IGL slash like a secondary like captain vocal leader on the team. And it was great because he also plays like fragging roles and is able to be vocal on that aspect where like it balances out because like I have like the majority of the vocalness coming from me, but like I'm on the back line in the round, like I'm on the support side. I don't see as much as he sees. So like I've worked with a while to trust him and giving him like freedom to call stuff and like letting him be a vocal and important person in the team. And also on top of that, he just performs extremely well as a fragger. Like he definitely deserves the opportunity he's been given now to be in pro league. Um, so yeah, that's where those two guys came from. I'm grateful to have him here too.
That's good. That's good. I'm quite happy to see like you have a really good chemistry. So honestly, I think that if you know how to use that in your favor, I think you could surprise some people in stage one. Um, Talking about stage one now, we well we found out 2 or 3 days ago that you will be playing for Envy. For those unaware, Envy is like a massive esports brand. Well, they went a bit inactive. They had their ups and downs, I think, during the last few years, I believe. But still, like a massive team,
Yeah.
one of esports best teams, I would say. So having it in NA, in Rainbow Six Siege's circuit is really good. I wanted to know how the initial talks began, like what
Yeah.
happened there.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I was once we qualified for pro league, the next day I was like on a mission. I was like we were making lists. We were like looking into all the organizations that exist that we could reach out to and everything. So I remember exactly like a little fun story. It was me and Rival sitting in a call and we were like looking through orgs and stuff, and I was like we were like, all right, well, what about Envy, bro? And they're like, I don't know, bro. They're so big, they probably won't like respond to us. And I was like, who would I even message from Envy? Like, cause like obviously we don't just want to like text the Twitter account of the org, right? Like we want to at least find like the management, right? And we were like, bro, the only person I can find is Hastro. And Hastro is like a legendary esports person. I'm like, bro, do I even like I don't want to just DM Hastro. Like this guy's like huge, right? Um anyway, we got like some DMs him and then like eventually Hastro DM'd me first. Before I could even DM him, Hastro reached out to me and asked if I'd love to set up a meeting. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So we set up a meeting, and then my meeting was literally with Hastro. So that was like another thing of why we like wanted to like the fact that like he owns the org, he's like the number one guy in the business, and he wanted to meet with me specifically, and like it was just straight like one on one, like right to the top communication. And like I just talked to him one on one for a good 30 minutes. We just like explained all the things we're looking for, what we are. He explained everything they're looking for and what they are. And like everything just fit so perfectly. And I was like, I left that meeting and I instantly told the team, I'm like, guys, this is where I want to play for. This is where I think we should play for. I think this is going to be the best home for us for so many reasons. And then after there, we had to obviously go back and work out all the logistics of everything. But after that meeting, it was basically a done deal. Just had to work out everything. So we're like extremely happy to play for them.
So just to see I understood everything correctly, um, you were going to reach out, but they reach out first.
Yes, Hastro reached out to me first.
That's crazy.
So that was I got that DM and I was like, yeah, I was like freaking out. I was like, let's go.
Just now, me being curious, and I think
Mhm.
other people will be curious as well. Um, was there any other potential brand interested, or you didn't get to that stage?
Yeah, so I actually made this public. I've done some other content pieces. They'll be coming out soon too. But we did have some negotiations with 100T.
Oh
100T
my!
was. was
God.
interested. But I joke about this, and like I don't mean anything negative in this sense, but they basically told me in the most polite way. Like I had a meeting with them. They told me in the most polite way after a little while. They're like, um, basically you guys aren't good enough. In the most polite way. In the most polite way. He didn't actually say that, but their 100 team made it like very clear in a sense of like they were interested in getting in Siege, but they were if they were gonna get into Siege, they wanted to be with one of like they wanted like a ready to compete for championships at like the world stage roster, right? And obviously I completely get that because that's not on paper what we are. We're a team of rookies coming from Challenger Series, right? So but it was cool that they even took the time to meet with me as well, right? The fact that they I was able to talk to them as well, um, and it was just great to like even just have the conversations and stuff. We had some other meetings too, but I think people for the community would like to know that like 100T is interested in Rainbow Six Siege, and they should keep their eyes out one day. So yeah.
It's just I'm just surprised now because I started the interview saying, "Oh, I remember like 45 years ago when 100 Thieves and other teams were like rumored, and now you just mentioned them." So I'm a bit shocked now, but yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like I think that for what you're saying, I think that you made the right decision because I mean the fact that they got in touch before you had the chance to, that says a lot. That's a match made in heaven, I would say. So
Yeah,
yeah, congratulations for
thank you.
move. Um, Now, looking at again at the teams that you're gonna be playing against, obviously like people would say, they Envy are not gonna do very well in this first stage. They need to adapt to the level first. But well, we will see. No, that's impossible to say right now.
Mhm.
What do you think is, like obviously, like every team wants to win everything, but a realistic goal for you guys, initial stage, Esports World Cup is on the line, but
Mhm.
you want to qualify for SI. I would say, no, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So what's a good first step in the first stage of the season?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like we would love to like our goal mainly, especially like set by our coach. So our coach Archer was the last time that there was Pro League relegations, he qualified for Pro League back in Europe in 2021 with the M&M roster. That was in Europe for a while with like Uzis and Solotov and Nathan them. So like he coached that team, especially in their first stage, and he like they were the same positions as us, a bunch of rookies coming from tier two. And his first stage with them, they were able to get fifth out of like the 10 teams at the time or whatever was in Europe. So they were able to be middle of the pack. They barely missed out on the major, and he said that's like the goal again for like us here. Like you guys can do it, and it's just you guys if we make the major, you make the major, you make the event, that's fantastic. Obviously, we'd love to be there. But at the end of the day, he said we just want to be competitive our first stage. We want to find our way into the middle of the pack. We want to be in a spot where we at least have the chance to go and just gain some experience. And then stage two is like really where like we make noise. That's like him as the coach with the realistic expectations, the one with experience and all that stuff. I told him I don't care. I'm making the event. But yeah, so that's the realistic answer. But obviously, like you said, we're competitors. We think we can exceed expectations on everyone else's end.
Uh, what's a team that you think is gonna be a hard nut to crack in NA for you guys, especially your play style, etc.
Um, hard team to play against. I would say maybe SSG in my opinion because they play very unorthodox in a sense. It's kind of hard to predict what they're gonna do. I don't mind when like a lot of other teams I feel like at least you kind of know what you're getting into if that makes sense. But everyone knows like SSG, International, and everything. Like they're very aggressive, very like unpredictable team. So that's definitely gonna be a fun game to see how we like match up against that. So that's the answer I'll give.
Good. Okay. Well, that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time. I think the interview was great, and I hope the viewers think the same. So yeah, a lot of a lot of luck, good luck
Thank you.
for NA, and yeah, have some fun because you deserve it. And yeah, see you around.
Appreciate it. Thank you much, man.
Yeah.